The purpose of this presentation is to explain a technique that determines the value of VistA to the Veterans Health Administration. The Veterans Health Administration is the largest integrated health system in America, with the mission to serve the needs of America's veterans by providing primary care, specialized care, and related medical and social support. With close to 15,000 physicians and 61,000 nurses, the VA serves 5.3 million veterans in 170 hospitals, 800 clinics, and 135 nursing homes. The VA's success is largely based on the organization's complete adoption of VistA, a comprehensive electronic health record software created by Microsoft. VistA for the VA was created in the late 1970s and was fully implemented within the system by the mid-1980s. VistA is made up of software modules that comprise the comprehensive and useful electronic health record. The features most recently added to this system are the computerized patient record and VistA imaging, which help the VA achieve its vision to support innovation, empowerment, productivity, accountability, and continuous improvement. VistA allows clinicians to have access to important patient records at the bedside. Medication histories and lab reports are available at the click of a mouse to enable quick and accurate decision processes. Due to its usefulness and its positive effects, many other organizations and systems have adopted the VA's version of VistA, two of which are the Department of Defense and the Indian Health Administration. For any organization, it is important to evaluate the effectiveness of large investments. One measure that is useful in determining VistA's effectiveness is return on investment. In general, measuring ROI can determine whether or not investment in information technology leads to increased use of that information technology and/or increased revenues. Ultimately, measuring ROI tells an organization whether what they have invested in or will invest in is worth the expense, time, and effort. The first steps in evaluating ROI are determine over what time periods you will compute your evaluation and what variables you will measure. To calculate ROI for the VA's VistA system, we chose to measure the correlations between 1. The cost of IT, specifically the amount of money spent on the maintenance, administration, and operation of the VistA system annually. Our second variable is IT use. Since the use of technology can be measured through multiple metrics, we chose to specify IT use as the number of inpatients treated annually at the VA. The final variable we measured is the organization's revenue. All of these variables were measured for the years 2006, 2007, and 2008. The data for 2008 had to be forecasted based on past trends. 2007 data was available since the fiscal year ends July 1. All of the data for our variables was found on the Department of Veterans Affairs website within the budget summary for the fiscal year 2008. The second step in determining ROI is calculating the correlations between our variables. Specifically, we wanted to find the correlations for the following statements. 1. Whether investing more in information technology leads to greater use of information technology, which leads to increased revenues. Or 2. Whether increased revenues causes the VA to spend more on information technology, which causes increased use of that information technology. The middle table was produced in Microsoft Excel and shows the individual correlations between each variable. These are necessary for calculating the correlation of our statements. We use the correlation equation to determine cause and effect. For example, to calculate the correlation for whether increased IT costs leads to increased IT use leads to increased revenues, we took the product of the middle variable, IT use, multiplied by the two outside variables, IT cost and revenues, and then we subtracted it from the product of the two outside variables, IT cost and revenues. Here, we have inserted a graphical view of the correlation between revenue and IT cost at the VA from 2006 to 2008. The upward sloping line indicates a positive correlation, meaning increased revenues leads to greater investment in IT and vice versa. We found that all relationships between all of our variables had this same positive correlation. As you can see, the numerical value for our two correlation statements at 0.0528 and 0.0584 proves that each statement is equally truthful, ultimately showing that the VA's investment in VistA brings financial return in terms of increased revenue. Because of this, it is worthwhile for the system to then invest more in VistA. Overall, this process is very useful in determining VistA's business value for the Veterans Health Administration. However, we did find limitations in this method. First, the data for each specific variable can be hard to find or may not be specific enough. Second, the analysis and validity of the technique is limited, with only 3 years' worth of data. And finally, the method leaves one to speculate about the organization's specific accounting techniques, which could change the accuracy of the data. In the end, this method of determining ROI is a good way to prove that VistA is valuable for the VA.